Hello and welcome to my country garden. We're on Sunday the 7th of October. It's actually a lovely day today, but we're one day after a 2-day storm that hit Scotland, which was reasonably ferocious. I think it was very ferocious on the west side of the country. I'm towards the east and it was windy, but it wasn't quite as bad. I've had a little bit of damage. I'll show you that as we go along. But today, my primary tasks are to get some harvests in. I've got some plants to plant out, and I want to show you some work that I've been doing over the past few weeks to prepare for an exciting arrival into the garden. So here's the main casualty of the storm for me. This was my tomato grow house where I used it for overflow from the polytunnel to grow some cucumbers and some tomatoes. And actually 2 of the metal supports have sheared through, so it is a goner, which is sad because I only got it this year. I was going to take it down very soon to put it away, but unfortunately the storm has helped me with that. So yeah, that's a bummer. So each year I take part in the single seed potato challenge that's run by Steve House of the Digwell Greenfingers channel. And you get a single seed potato and you try and grow as big a yield as possible from that single seed potato. And this year's no different. I'm having a bash at that. There is an additional class this year, and that is to see who can grow the heaviest potato. Because actually the variety of potato that we're using this year is called Condor, and that is renowned for producing really large potato tubers. I don't think so in my case though. So I have got 7 pots of potatoes to harvest, not tons, but let's just see what sort of yield I get. Now the potato plants themselves died back quite a while ago, so there has not been any growing happening for quite a while. But let's just see what we have. Very wet actually. Okay, so this is sort of average size main crop potato. And so is this. So nothing humongous as yet in this pot. I've got a few others that are a nice size. Again, not humongous though. Oh, I can't see, it's so sunny. Oh, nice. Okay. I won't bore you by playing them all in real time. I'll zip through and speed it up a little bit, but still, so you can see what I'm actually harvesting. But for this one, actually it's a nice harvest because there's a bunch of fairly nice looking potatoes at a good size. So I'd be happy with that as an ordinary harvest from a 30-litre pot. Right, I've got a little pot next. I think it's a 20-litre pot. Let's see what we get in there. Hi girls. Hello. Lots of worms. There. I better put you there. Got another one here somewhere. Woofed. Okay. This appears to be my heaviest potato. That's nearly the same. And then we have a bunch of others. Okay, here is my harvest from a single seed potato. Heavy. I don't think it's as much as I got last year, but I ended up with 11 pots of potatoes last year. Only managed to get 7 this year, but I'll weigh them. I will send the weight over to Steve and he keeps a tally of everyone's weights and will tell us where we finish later on. Oh, Jesus, that was near. So the eagle-eyed among you will have noticed when I was harvesting the potatoes there that the surroundings are a bit different. Some of you may even be thinking this is an area of the garden you haven't seen before, but actually you have. This area here used to house my polytunnel, and over here we used to have compost bays, and there was a big tree stump there, and right in front of you there used to be a large 2.5 metre raised bed. But now it's a bit of a wasteland. Everything is gone and there's just bits and pieces kicking about. And the reason that has happened is because, and it has been intentional, it wasn't anything to do with the storm, it has been intentional, I'm getting a new polytunnel. And the polytunnel is much bigger than the polytunnel I had. That little polytunnel had seen better days. And so I had to make some space. And I had to remove the compost bays, I had to remove the raised bed, had to get rid of the polytunnel. I had some help for some of the harder tasks, such as removing the tall tree stump there and knocking down a bit of a low wall there. But we're more or less now ready for the new polytunnel. So I've taken some footage over the few days that we did this work, and you can see what it was like, a reminder of what it was like beforehand, and you can see what it is like now. This area here is a bit of a disaster area, and I've sort of let it get this way a little bit because I know that shortly I'm going to be dismantling this polytunnel because it's full of holes. And instead, I'm excited to say that I'm getting a brand new polytunnel. Now we need more space for that polytunnel, so we're going to be removing these compost bins. I'm going to be moving all these raspberries, so I'm going to be cutting them right back and moving them somewhere. And this big triangular bed that has tulips in the spring and squash in the summer and autumn is going to be cut into somewhat, so it's no longer going to be a big triangular bed. It's probably just going to be a little bed here. There is so much work to do. For example, there's a big buddleia that needs removed. How the heck do I empty these compost bins? Obviously there's weeds to get rid of as well. So I'm going to have to take some time off work to actually do all this. But it's going to be so worth it, because I'm going to have a 10 foot by 15 foot First Tunnels polytunnel. Work is well underway in prep for getting my new polytunnel in a couple of weeks. I've got 3 large compost bays that I'm having to empty as part of the clearance. And this is some of the nice compost, the fully formed compost that I've got from it so far. And if I go down here, and that's more. They're the compost bays that have got to go. And this is the partially composted material that I would use in the bottom of raised beds or to pop into other composters once I get them set up. But now I'm going to have to break down these compost bays. You can see here actually there was I don't know, 5 foot tall tree stump here, up to about there, and it's been removed pretty much. There was a little wall, this little wall, we needed that moved because it was sort of snaking in there. Here's the old polytunnel, which looks okay from this side, but the plastic's all ripped and it's coming out. And because the new one is bigger, I'm going to have to move this bed as well, which I only put in this year, so oh god, I'm a bit frustrated about having to do that, but it's going to be worth it in the end. Phew, right, that is me now moved my big pallet collar bed. This is 4 pallet collars all joined together that I actually put together this year, but I've had to move because of the polytunnel. So it's now sitting next to the big shed, which as soon as we get a nice dry day we're going to paint. And also to the left of that there's a sort of flower bed. So hopefully that's going to do well for various plants here. Let me show you where it came from. Okay, so I said I've moved the bed, but I haven't actually moved the contents. Oh god. So yeah, this is what was in the bed. There's some chard and some beetroot. I'm pretty sure I can pot up this chard and move it. The beetroot I'm not so sure about whether it'll do well being transplanted, but I'll just basically take a great big lump of soil underneath the beetroot and hopefully and then pop it in a pot and see how we go. Anyway, this is the next job. Jeez oh. And this bed is about 1 metre by 3 metres, I think, or thereabouts. Maybe 3 feet by 3 metres. It's big anyway. Oh god, I'm going to have to shovel all this. Right, and actually while I'm here, these bits of wood are sort of indicating the size of the new polytunnel. So you can see the existing polytunnel here. Let me just zoom out a bit. Existing polytunnel, and this is where the new one's going to come up to. So at a jaunty angle. It's going to come up to there. That's why I had to move this bed. And then down the side, it's I did measure it, but obviously I've gone a bit squint when I've put the wood down. But you can get an idea of how much bigger this polytunnel is. That's why I had to remove the compost bays there, and also had to have some of this wall taken down. So I'm going to now move this, well, transplant what's in it, move this, and if I've got any energy left later, I'm going to try and completely empty the polytunnel. I've done part of it, and take the polytunnel plastic off, because the plastic's rubbish now, and I have someone that's going to take the frame. Let me just show you the plastic. Here we can see I don't actually have any any netting there for the net window, and that's all bust as well. And the doors bust. This is what it looks like inside just now. That'll teach me for being messy. Right, I have to say, I'm a bit sore, and I'm going to be sore later. That's 720 litres of compost I've moved and plonked into this bed. The first 200 odd was partially made compost from the old compost bays that I dug out. Quite a lot of that was chicken bedding and chicken poo and so on. So that will continue composting at the bottom of all of this. Then I shoveled many 100 litres from the bed where it was situated to here, and then I topped it off with 4 30-litre pots of spent potato compost, and mixed that in a little bit as well. So tons and tons of material in there, and oh boy, I'm going to have a little break now before I get the chard back in there and pop on the hoops and the net just to keep the chickens out. The polytunnel is coming in a couple of weeks' time, and I will video as much footage as I can of it arriving and being put up, and hopefully I'm going to have a super duper polytunnel that's going to last me for many years to come. Okay, here we are next to the bed that I moved, and you can see I've got some netting over it to stop the chickens getting in at this time of year. That's what I'm more bothered about. And then in this side I've got 4 chard plants that I had in the bed in its original location, and I've just popped them in here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some other things in this side. So I actually have this is cabbage April, and I've got 3 of those. I'm going to put those in the other side of that big raised bed, and I've got another couple of small chard plants that I've grown on. I'm going to pop those in next to the chard plants that are already there. That should then be the bed full, and I'll just leave things to their own devices over the winter. Okay, frustratingly, I didn't have the camera turned on when I was planting these, but nothing special really. I've put 3 of the April cabbage in this side, hopefully to give them some space to grow on. And then I put another 2 chard plants in here to join the existing chard plants. And again, to grow on over the autumn. Then through the winter survive, and in the spring hopefully romp away. So I would say now that this bed is full, I'm going to put the netting back on, keep any birds, including the chickens, out, and it'll act as a little bit of a protection from the wind as well. And we'll see how we go. Okay, I've got some swede, I've got a cabbage, and I've got some sprouts in this bed. The sprouts aren't ready, you know, they'll be nice and ready for Christmas, I would hope. But I am going to harvest one of the swede and this cabbage here. The cabbage is calabash. First time I've grown it, so we'll see how that looks. And the swede, I can't remember the variety. It's not tweed. It's a different one this year. But let's get this cabbage out first of all. Right, I'm in a bit of disarray with all this, and I don't actually have my big. Right, let's just pull this out because it's nice and easy. So, the roots look okay. Let me just strip the leaves off this and see what we're looking like. Hello girls. There's a few wee bugs. There's some slugs. But I think we're going to have cabbage to play with there. It's quite a solid heart. Good. You can have those ones, girls, but not this. Okay, and there's there's a swede in here that's a nice size. No, don't think you're coming in here, chicken. Let's see. Over here. Here we are. It's not bad. That will do the trick. Lovely top growth, which the chickens will get, and it's not huge, but it's an okay size for me where the swede's concerned. I better shut this back up again because Dottie's already in that bed. Dottie and Edith, look at that. You leave them for a second. Out of the bed, please, girls. Out, no, not in. Edith, come on, that way. Thank you. Right. There. At this time of year, it's really just the chickens I'm trying to keep out of this bed. Because they wreak havoc. Well, that's me done for today, I think. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. And if you don't already subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you would consider doing that. It doesn't cost anything and it does help my channel to grow. But for now, I will say bye-bye.